Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Ops Section AMA. We're here with the monitor group. Sean, you had the first question, and I see you're on. Oh, wait, Sean wasn't on. I saw, sorry,
It would
Steve.
be very early for him.
I saw Steve's name and thought it was Sean. Sorry. Do you want to maybe verbalize for, or I'll verbalize for Sean, and then you can answer, Sarah. Sean asked, which markets should we be prioritizing in order to increase user count? There seems to be a renewed focus on SaaS, so it's the idea to build and learn off of SaaS users, even free ones, before refining products towards an enterprise market.
So in terms of customer segmentation, our primary target, if we're being very specific, is a commercial customer on SaaS or self-managed, as we're seeing usage on both. Not have an official incident management tools or processes, or they do and they've developed it themselves. So this applies just to commercial customers. Operating on an old hypothesis was that we need to be a lot more feature complete to apply or to even be attractive to an enterprise customer. That for us being, if you're an enterprise customer with a SaaS service, you likely have invested in some sort of incident management solution and are likely using a proprietary tool. In my second bullet point, I've had a handful of recent conversations with analysts that make me think that we are actually closer to being an enterprise solution than we originally thought. Many of our enterprise customers only need a good enough or quote unquote get the job done solution. They don't need all of the bells and whistles that OpsGenie or PagerDuty offer. I don't have an understanding of the size of our GitLab customer base that fits this bill, but I'm looking into this. I think that answers the whole question.
Yeah, cool. And I remember you posting about that update from the analysts. It's been exciting revelation, I think, in terms of what it means for who we can pursue.
Yes, it is.
Cool. I had the next question, which was congrats on all the recent adoption increases.
Thank you. Very exciting. It's very motivating for the team. Obviously, it's nice to see the tool you're using solve problems for people. And so a few insights into that is I believe a lot of the growth is due to introducing the type selector on the issue creation form. So what it's done is people before, if they needed to solve some very wide range of problems, as in GitLab, use issues for everything. Now they see the type selector, and those who are creating something in the realm of bug or service disruption or outage now sees an incident and sees that as an option. And so it's made it a lot more discoverable. And it's also led to people being able to, oh, now we create incidents. Well, there's an operations section. Oh, there's a list for incidents. So that's a hypothesis. I need to do a little bit more behavior tracking on like how people are working through the product, but adding that type selector has generated a lot of discoverability for us. And Anoop, you had the next point.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the way the monitor team is starting to, use all the tools at our disposal, including discoverability, to tap into the large GitLab existing install base.
Awesome, thank you. And Sam, I'll let you.
Yeah. Oh, good. I didn't see Sam typing. Sam, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, yeah, that's great. I agree. And do you have any thoughts about other places that we could have that kind of discoverability? It seems like what's working really well there is that someone's in like a plan context, and then that pulls them into monitor. Just curious if we thought any of any more examples that we might want to do like that.
That is a great question, which has been a topic of conversation for myself, Kenny, Kevin, and the team. We're in the midst of kind of formally doing this discovery. And so in the last 2 weeks, Amelia and I went through, and we have this all documented if people want to look at it. We did an evaluation of all of the stages in GitLab and then all of the categories, and essentially looked for where is somewhere where the job to be done is kind of similar to maintaining a service and responding to something. So as an example of something that's not a good opportunity would be design management. that's a little bit too far away for us to pursue some sort of opportunity. We're looking for like low to medium hanging fruit, and we came up with 4. And so that's within verify, release, within our plan team. Were there 4? There's one more that I'm forgetting, but I have the issue that I will link here. And then we're going to run problem validation cycles on jobs to be done and the personas between those 2 categories to come up with other ways of making this more discoverable. So the long-winded answer to your question, Sam, is this is top of mind. We're working on it. I'll get that issue and link it here so that you can see the whole breadth of the study.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Kenny.
Yeah, what's your favorite cereal? You responded directly, but this was for everybody. This is the AMA is meant for the whole monitor group, so I meant to ask everybody on this call.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. See, Justin too, Kenny, you too.
Me also,
It's just very satisfying.
It's my guilty pleasure.
Oh, yeah, it's dessert for breakfast. I don't really even consider it breakfast.
Anoop, Kevin,
Yeah,
Sam,
do you go in for a
Crystal?
week, Justin?
For me, it's honey bunch of oats with almonds. I just actually mix it with banana and milk and put in a protein shake, and that's my breakfast a lot of times.
Amazing. That sounds delicious. Kevin likes hot food.
I hate cereal. I don't understand why people eat it for breakfast. It seems like Sam shares the sentiments. I'll pass it on to him.
Just can't get into it. Yeah.
Time out. The question wasn't about breakfast. It was favorite cereal.
Yeah.
You don't have to eat cereal
You
for
can just
breakfast.
say you don't have a favorite. You don't have to disparage cereal.
That too.
Prefer an egg. A little protein, you know.
I also don't eat cereal. I eat Kind bars for breakfast and often for all the meals of the day.
All right, thanks for your input, and Anoop, Sarah, and Justin specifically for liking cereal. My next question, Sarah, was kind of about that discoverability you were talking about, and I read your answer, and so I want to add a little bit more detail. What I was wondering is if there are user behaviors kind of before they've touched incident management that you would say like, oh, maybe that is a good indicator that they would want incident management. One of the ones that came to my mind was something like, are they doing deployments with GitLab? Maybe that would mean they would be interested in also doing incident management. But I'm wondering if there are things like that that you would, it'd kind of be like, where would you trigger the recommendation engine to say, hey, have you ever considered GitLab incident management?
Yeah, great question. So the 2 that I provide there, which are very specific, are kind of in the realm of people who are using the plan stage for issue tracking and might find value in incident management. But other areas that I would look at are in the managed stage and value stream management. Are we seeing people create charts so that they can understand analytics for, again, issues with the incident label, if that's something they're doing within GitLab? More specific examples would be verify continuous integration or release for continuous delivery. Are we seeing people create issues for problems within the pipeline? Or what does someone do in GitLab click on, create, interact with when a deployment fails? So those are, I linked an issue there because it's kind of related to the one above. And thank you for typing my answer, Kenny.
Yeah, I like that point. Yeah, which is we know about deployment failures and we can infer what people are doing as a result of that deployment failure. And then, if they're not connected to, or we can't sense or have some mechanism of knowing whether they did it in another system, maybe they would appreciate ours.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
My next question was something that you and I have chatted about. I'm interested in the kind of broader group's thoughts on this. If you're familiar, the and-on chord is like I think it was originally Toyota manufacturing methodology, where if there's a problem in the production line, you pull the cord and everything stops, and you don't restart the line until you fix the problem. Even if that problem was like one person, like needed to go get a coffee or something, you still pull the line to keep the whole train moving and to optimize, to like learn from any mistake that might have caused that outage. it's like in my head, there's something similar to that in our continuous integration process, where if master is read, you would want to stop. That might be something where you would create an incident, is where I'm talking about this in as it applies to monitor. And I don't know if that is true. I'm not a professional developer who's worked in a shop where that was implemented or a best practice. I'm wondering if others have. No.
I,
that's
I,
Go for it.
I was gonna say that the part of the and chord concept I like the best is it's not just you stop doing what you're doing, but the idea is that if something goes wrong, it behooves the entire organization to figure out what's wrong, so you can make incremental improvements so it doesn't occur again and the process is smoother down the line. Where Sam, Crystal, and I worked at New Relic and Uncord was a concept that was like encouraged, and the way they implemented there is if any development team feels like something's going sideways, they can pull the and cord and get involvement from higher ups to let them know something's wrong, and then the idea is like together we'll figure out what's wrong. I didn't find that particularly work well, because at least in the year or so that was there, no one ever pulled the cord. I think it's like a self-preservation thing. You don't want to say something's wrong. But I think, Kenny, what you're suggesting here is like, does it make sense for organization to stop if master's read with an incident, or at least something highly visible enough where someone is responsible to jump on it? I really like that as a concept. I think we talked about it before, where like a read master should trigger alert. And like the logical next step to me is that alert can automatically be turned into an incident where somebody can stop to take a look at it. I'm not sure if like the entire organization stopping is a good thing, because I think there are a lot of things in modern development organization that can be parallelized. But like if we can use our product to help facilitate more feedback, more learning in organization, I think that's a really great thing to bake in. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
No, it's a great answer.
I think I got it all.
Anoop?
Anoop?
Yeah, I'm happy to go into details at another time, but when I was in engineering, we had implemented this at Cisco. It worked. We discovered some exceptions we had to make. There is a P1 issue for a customer. This is self-managed world, right? We would split a branch and go fix that instead of waiting for the main line to get fixed. It made all of us better about helping each other when issues came in, because a lot of times with complex code, you change something and then something else breaks somewhere totally that you just don't have any idea about. And so we got connected better with each other and learned about the product stack much quickly.
I just think it can go both ways too, where I've seen a pattern where when you have an incident, you don't want to deploy then. Like that's when you stop the train. And if you don't have that, you could run into situations where you're firefighting something and then like the auto, deploy starts and, makes a bad situation worse. So it seems like the signal could go like from CI out into incident management, but it also could be compelling maybe to go the other way.
Yeah, great point. And a lot of the genesis of this came from a discussion that I think Sarah and I had about how to like turn incident management on by default. I think that if you pulled on this thread, you could say that every CI project or user became an incident management user by saying we think it's a best practice for you to create an alert or an incident if your default branch pipeline goes red, and that immediately it provides exposure to and discoverability of our incident management features out of the box.
It seems really defensible to me too, like to say that's a best practice and you would turn something like that on by default, and maybe, organizations can turn it off for various reasons. But like if you're starting out, yeah, it feels compelling to me.
Thanks for the discussion. Anoop, you have the next question.
Yeah, I think Sarah, you answered it, but I'll extend the question now that you've answered it. Is GitLab support dev or infra dogfooding incident management?
Yes. So the infra team is dogfooding incident management. We have SLO certificate expirations to an endpoint, and it is triggering incidents. So these are low urgency, but need to be fixed in a certain amount of time. And that's fantastic progress. So infra team is using it. I have a plan with Brent to continue iteratively working on higher and higher severity alerts to get them dogfooding it more, but this is the first step, which is awesome. And then do you want me to voice over the other points on supporting the dev team quickly?
I'm good with it. I've read them if the team wants them.
Okay, great. Then you have question 7.
So I saw the direction page. This may just be, it says that the TAM is 1.5 billion from 2018. I think we have an updated TAM, right? And for 2021, we might want to consider that. But more importantly, what is the TAM and SAM for incident management specifically?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I do not have dollar amounts for this. I'll need to make an estimate on it, and then I can, when I do so, add it to the direction page. I can give you insight on how I see the market performing, though.
Yes, please.
So 5 years ago or so, we started to see the increase in popularity of kind of 3 players. PagerDuty was already well established at that point, but there was PagerDuty, there was OpsGenie, and there were VictorOps, and they were competing for different pieces of the market. And then 2-ish years ago, there were 2 notable acquisitions where VictorOps was acquired by Splunk, which is not a workflow tool in and of itself, but does enable a ton of workflow, like arbitrary workflow customization. And then Atlassian acquired OpsGenie, and Atlassian is a well-known workflow tool as well. About that time, ServiceNow came out with their incident management product suite, which is based on their workflow functionality. So I'm kind of seeing the incident management market not take off to the extent that I'm getting in my video. Is my audio okay now? I don't think can anyone hear me?
We can hear you now.
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. Okay, sorry. The incident management market broke off from ITSM, and now it's kind of being absorbed back into ITSM as people realize we don't necessarily need a really fancy proprietary tool to do this. We can actually use our workflow tool to do this. A lot of progressive companies do want a proprietary tool such as PagerDuty, which is why it's still doing pretty well. But I think we're seeing the shift towards working your incident management processes into just a custom workflow tool, and that being a just good enough solution. So I'm gonna let Kevin take D as I voiced over my B and C.
Sure. Then the number for, and I listed here is from some research I read a while back, which is different from the number listed by Kenny. So it depends on how they're defining. But if you look at just ARR of the largest companies, Datadog's ARR for 2020 is roughly 600 million. New Relic is in the same range. Splunk is somewhere up there. If you take in the other log companies and all the other APM companies, it adds up quickly above 2 billion. I don't know if it's 5 billion, but it is a very large number. And consistently, I've seen analysts state that this market is growing at around 12%. I forget the acronym CAGR. I forget what that means. What's driving this, I think, is likely to continue because every company is becoming a software company, and the general business model in this space is usage-based. And if there's more software, there's going to be more telemetry, and this market will grow, will continue to grow because of that. And when thinking about incident management, if we just look at PagerDuty as a proxy, the previous quarter, they earned 50 million, growing at 25%. We also hear that people complain about their pricing, and their who they can target is potentially a limited set of people within a organization. Not everyone's going to have access to a tool like PagerDuty within an organization. I know they're trying to expand and to other use cases as well, because they, like everyone else in the space, wants to be a platform. The other thing that's interesting is PagerDuty goes after the enterprises versus like the ops genies of the world. I'll dig into their quarterly report to see if they state anything how revenue growth is split for their business currently.
Thanks, Kevin. I just wanted to add there was a reference to the new TAM and SAM numbers. That spreadsheet is actually in our product investment page now. That spreadsheet is sliced to only the IDC's defined DevOps market. So they say of those tools, which ones are being used in a DevOps application. So that's why the broader APM market is significantly larger. One thing that you could do is infer from the taxonomy that IDC uses for those markets, that kind of like which portion of this represents specifically incident management versus kind of APM style monitoring to get an incident management specific DevOps market number.
I was wondering, Sarah, you mentioned a couple times that there's this motivation or kind of story from analysts that people or enterprises even want a less bells and whistles in their incident management. And yeah, I was kind of curious, is that because they want just lower cost and they don't need it, or is it like they want a more consistent tool chain, the integration?
Got it. This is not the correct answer to the question, so I'm deleting it. Okay. I think, so this is going to be true with any software product that you use, is software products try to be innovative. And a lot of the innovation is based on you only using that product and giving them all of your data. And then it does lots of cool things. But it's hard to get someone to, for example, use PagerDuty for everything that PagerDuty is supposed to do. And so in the really high pricing tiers for PagerDuty and for OpsGenie, they are innovating and trying to do things such as, tying delivery insights to triggering of alerts and incidents. And they tell you, to be able to use these product sets, you need to give us as much information about your infrastructure as possible. And you need to be operating on microservices. And we need to have access to everything that's going on. And if you just don't have that data, or you haven't broken things into microservices, or you don't have the time to configure everything perfectly, the bells and whistles don't work for you and you don't need them. So the amount of, every product wants you to do that, which is why it's so important that we make things work out of the box and as easy as possible. But so cost base, yeah, someone's not going to pay for something that doesn't work for them or that they don't have the time to put into making it work.
Thanks.
Hey, we are at time. Sarah, do you want to maybe answer Anoop's questions async and ping him to let him know if you once you've added answers? I think you had the last
Yes,
remaining
I
ones.
will. A little clarification on question 8, Anoop. I'm assuming the incident management or the monitor direction page. The monitor direction page refers to principles. Is that the direction page you're talking about? You are on mute.
Yes, it talks about easy setup and one more principle
Great.
that was already there in our product principles.
I will answer those async.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for the great conversation.
Take
Have a great
care.
rest of your day.
Oh.